everybody, it's Keely O'Brien back here again with day 17 of the hashtag Mixed Media March 25 challenge. So, as you can maybe gather, I'm working again in my Steampunk Ephemera book. So I've used quite a lot of the ephemera that I tucked into this ephemera holder at the front. There's some of the pages I did. Now I'm trying to learn a lesson about not just working from the front all the time. I know my wonderful friend Nicole on Relax Cut Glue, when she's making a journal like this, she jumps around in the journal. And the reason is because she has found in the past, and I think I'm in danger of finding that as well, that the whole journal kind of pulls itself into a wonky shape if you just work from one end. So I am going to jump around a little bit now. Jump around, jump up and get down. I'm going to jump around in this book so that it stays a little bit more even. Maybe I'll wish I'd removed a few pages because there are many pages in here. But yeah, I haven't done one of these before. And yeah, so I'm trying to learn from people who know better than I do. Right, so as you can see, I've gone for my absolute favourite colours, all the browns, the coppery, warm colours like this, and the teal and turquoise. I've got a number of my little steampunk friends here from my Steampunk Cats and Dogs ephemera book. So I might include those. And quite a few of these gorgeous, I've got to stop saying, I really have to stop doing that. It's a terrible habit. You can hear me editing day 16 in the background. CapCut has just started making a noise. Hang on. Hi everybody, it's here. Oh, multitasking. I'm not the best multitasker, but I do try. I give it my best. Anyway, yeah, hopefully day 16 will be up shortly and I can then concentrate on day 17. So I'm just looking to create a type of masterboard background that I love to do now with bits and bobs. And I'm not sure how much I'm going to stick on top of that. I think the elements of the background are going to be the animals and so on. But what I might do is add these fellows. Look at them. How smart are they? Steampunk cats with their steampunk baby kittens, with their clocks and stuff on their heads, on their hats. I love how their ears are poking through the hats there. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm probably going to add some of those somewhere and we'll see what happens. Right, I'm going to get sticking and I'll switch to voiceover so I can concentrate on what I'm actually doing. And as you can see, I have sped this up now so that you can just see things coming together, but without all the really mind-numbingly boring bits, hopefully. Yeah, I'm so happy with the colour scheme for this. It's sort of a duck egg blue, isn't it? With lots of yummy bits of ephemera. So yeah, talking of yummy bits of ephemera, have you visited my Ko-fi shop yet? If you haven't, the link's in the description. Hop on over, because in particular, to go with this project, there are some gorgeous vintage labels in there. I've got printable teal and cream vintage labels. There are 6 PDF pages that you can print off, and they're very fancy and not too tricky to cut out either. And I have used them in a few other projects. So yeah, they are super yummy. I've also got the same sort of labels with different colour schemes. So there's a pretty pale pink version and there is a pale and petrol blue version, which I really love, and I must print some off to use in this book because I love that rich dark petrol bluey colour. There's also a peachy version and peachy, creamy and rose pink vintage labels. Again, 6 pages to print off.
I think those would go well with this too, because of that sort of rusty colour, and the peach I think would work well. And there's also a hibiscus pink version as well, which is more of a cool pink with some turquoise as well. And I love them, they're so gorgeous. There's different sizes, so they'll go with all sorts of different products. I keep saying products instead of projects here, sorry guys. Oh dear, my poor brain. Yeah, so what I tend to use them for, or what I've used them for so far, is I've put a butterfly in the middle and it kind of frames the thing you're sticking onto it. You could write on them because there's a space to write something, or, you know, stick another piece of ephemera over the top. Or you could build them up and put one on top of another to make, you know, like larger fancy pieces of ephemera with fancy edges and coordinating colour schemes. Anyway, if you can't visualise what I'm talking about, pop over and have a look. Yeah, so in the Ko-fi shop, a few of the products will always be free, and at the moment I've got a free printable Pink Roses Junk Journal pages kit with 6 digital papers. That one is free at the current time of recording, which is early April. And I have Lily of the Valley folios. There are 6 of those. Those are also currently free. And what else have I got? Oh, gorgeous Lily of the Valley Junk Journal pages as well. So that's volume 3. There are 6 of those. They're really pretty. They've got lines on them as well, so you can actually journal in there. And some gorgeous ornate gold edges and Lily of the Valley flowers. So yeah, go and check those out. Let's see what else is free at the moment. Oh, there's some blue hydrangea pockets, which are super pretty, and you have to scroll through the whole shop to find these. And there are Lily of the Valley junk journals as well, with more intricate pages. They're really, really pretty. I think people just haven't found them yet. I've sold a few, but those are currently free. And the labels are similar to the ones I was just describing, but with the words vintage and antique printed on them. I have to print some of those off, especially with my new vintage antique shop book. So those are also free. There's so much free stuff here. So, you know, go and help yourselves. Please don't share them around with thousands of people. And they're just for personal use, these files. You're not permitted to resell them or, you know, add them on Facebook groups or anything like that. I really prefer if you didn't do that, because, you know, I've given these to you guys as my followers or as my subscribers, or just to people who've stumbled across my channel. If you haven't subscribed, that would be great. Just click the button, you know what to do, and it'd be just fantastic if you could like this video for me. That would help also. Oh, and I almost forgot, there's the butterfly colouring page. That one is free as well, and you can colour those butterflies any scheme of colours you like to go with your projects. So I need to do some of those. It's super relaxing. Anyway, I started, coming back to the actual piece of artwork here, I started doing dots, as you can see, and I just love that look. It fills in a few bits that just needed a little bit more something. And you might have noticed that I was edging some of those steampunk cats and dogs with a gold pen. And I was just doing it straight on the pages of the journaling page that I'm working on. I didn't take them to one side and do them on rough paper. So yeah, I just wanted some sort of grungy effects really, and obviously I'm sticking things over the top of most of it, but it does add to the interest in the background and gave me some little shapes to fill in with the dots. And I'm also finding that the archival ink is very handy for just grunging up those backgrounds. As you can see, they look really old and faded and a bit grubby in the background, but I love that look. Yeah. Anyway, some of that ephemera is quite fancy. It comes from my Teal and Turquoise ephemera book, and it's coming in really handy for these projects because not only does it save time, but there's a certain style to it which is very much my style, so why not add it to my work? There you go. You see, I'm just drawing around the edges of that cute little steampunk doggy in his goggles, and I'm not worrying about the paper underneath because it's just going to be part of the design if it's peeping through from around the pictures. So that piece I'm just sticking down, that is from a set of stamps that I got. They were on Amazon. I can again put the link for you there. And yeah, they're so much fun. So I was actually doing a training course online and didn't have to participate. So off camera, there I was listening to the course, but merrily stamping all of those gorgeous butterfly and floral stamps that you can see. And I just stamped them on this faded old exercise book that I've got. You've perhaps seen me using it before. And then I was just cutting them out. It was so relaxing, and who doesn't love a bit of multitasking? You know, if you're doing some listening, you can also be crafting at the same time. Let me know if you're up to things like that as well on the quiet while you're supposed to be doing other stuff. Yeah, it just actually helps me focus more by having something repetitive and easy and satisfying to do while I'm listening to other stuff that I need to focus my brain on. Yeah, anyway, yeah, stamping, so satisfying. And actually making these tiny little pieces of ephemera is also super satisfying. I think having a colour scheme takes the stress out of it all. So yeah, using that little corner rounder and just creating tiny little sort of tickets and little jewel-like pieces that just fill in a gap, and it uses up so many little tiny pieces of my Gelli prints that are left over. And honestly, I hardly throw anything away. I'm not very good like that. I should in general chuck things out on a more regular basis, but these tiny little pieces can look so jewel-like because of the colours, and especially with gold involved. So it's a lot of fun using those up, and they sort of balance the colour scheme out really well, especially if you spread them around a bit. So yeah, love doing that. Super duper relaxing. There goes another butterfly stamp. And so some of them I've done horizontally and some of them I've done vertically because I think it helps make the page look more balanced. And I try not to stick them too close together. I try and spread them out so that the eye doesn't get overly drawn into one part of the composition. Yeah. So just rounding the corners on another piece there. I think that was the Gelli print that I created using the lid off a pot. So I put the ink on the gel plate. I put the lid, whatever it was from, onto the gel plate, and then I just slid it along the gel plate, and it created this sort of weird circular tunnel, sort of 3D tunnel on the gel plate, and it printed off so well. Really very satisfying making that. I have to do some more Gelli printing soon. It's just too much fun, but it is messy and it does take up quite a bit of my afternoon because there's always a lot of clearing up to do afterwards, and my hands get super painty and it's all quite messy, but just brilliant fun. But I do need sort of a 3-hour window with no interruptions when I'm Gelli printing, so it's a bit of a treat. That doesn't happen very often. but so much fun to explore what you can make on a gel plate. And you know, I could do with some other colours really, because I tend, as you know, if you've jelly printed, you tend to get involved in particular colour schemes at any one time. Well, I do anyway. And you find you've got loads and loads of, well, I end up with loads of metallics and turquoises and those sort of turquoisey greens and stuff, but I haven't got very much pale pink, for example, and that would be really helpful actually, to have some nice sort of softer gel prints that would just make really good backgrounds and for pretty things. So yeah, I need to do some more jelly printing for sure, and I do want to treat myself to a smaller gel plate as well, because the one I've got is like an A4 or bigger than A4 size. Yeah, so all my gel prints are quite large. It would be fun to do some smaller ones, and also just to have that gel plate to sort of mix and blend the colours on. So I know Kerry the Crafter uses his very small gel plate. I'm not sure what size it is. It might be 6 by 8 inches, something like that, or 5 by 7. I'm not really sure. But yeah, that would be good. So I've got this really intricate steampunk butterfly there. And there you go. You can see my sort of jelly printing that I tend to end up with. Gorgeous metallic-y, just inking around the edges so it sort of blends into everything. But great for making little pieces of ephemera, great just as bits of background, and it's really going to make that steampunk butterfly with all the cogs and things, it's really going to make it stand out. Well, that's the plan here anyway. And of course, when you move the page around, you get to see all the lovely metallic and iridescent colours, which is magic in my humble opinion. There I go with my dotty, what do you call those pens? Sharpie pens. They're just great, aren't they? I have to hold the pen really upright because it's quite a splodgy nib on that pen, and to get a proper dot rather than just a splodge, you just have to use the very tip of it. Great way to just add a bit of texture and bling things up a little bit. There, so you can see I've put some of that jelly print on the other side of the picture as well, just to balance things out and keep things sort of evenly interesting across the whole piece. Because that's just the way my mind likes to work. There we go. I've had that butterfly sitting around for ages and ages. So it's nice to be able to do that. Oh, and you can see I've just cut that little label right in half. I think I felt there wasn't really anywhere to stick the whole thing without covering stuff up, so I've just put half over on the left and the other half on the right. And again, it just sort of, in my opinion, creates quite a pleasing sort of balance. So there we go, there goes another little butterfly out of one of my books. And some very satisfying inking. And I've tried not to leave any white, so whereas there is white around that butterfly, I've just sort of dirtied it up a bit with some vintage photo there. And that gold pen is wonderful for going around the edges of random bits to make them look more special, more sort of jewel-like, or like little mini picture frames as well when they've got gold around the edge like that. There goes the old butterfly in the middle. And a few more dots. I'm loving this double page spread now. It really has got lots of interest and all the colours are sort of holding together nicely. Tell you what, if I had all day to just do this, I would be so happy. It would be really nice to be able to just sit and make stuff like this all day long, but that's life though, isn't it? We all have other stuff to do. Right, here go the numbers, and this one is number 17. But oh dear, I ripped the 7 in half, so I wasted a 7 there. Never mind. I'm trying to think what to do with all the rest of those letters, because I've got 4 or 5 of those sheets now. I think I might make some of the letters, there we go, number 17, might make the letters into an actual piece of art at some point, maybe with some jelly prints. I might add them into this book actually. A steampunk spread with lots of coppery coloured letters. That's got to happen, hasn't it? Certainly not going to waste them. And even though the white around those stickers is a bit prevalent, it actually takes the archival ink quite well, so you can sort of dull down the edges a little bit. There we go. All but finished, I think. Just looking to see whether I've got anything else that might work. Final little touches. It's a great way to use up all the little scraps, and there's a little piece of map there. Came out of my vintage maps cut and collage book. That kind of stuff's so handy just to sort of carry the theme through for, you know, steampunk, thinking about explorers and aeronauts and hot air balloonists and all that stuff. Clocks, maps, weird cogs and machines. It's just really interesting, but complete fantasy as well. So sort of Victorian. Yeah, I just love it. And quite a lot of these pieces are from the backgrounds of my Teal and Turquoise book, and I found those really handy on this particular spread just because they're all the right colours and they're quite detailed, and even tiny pieces can be quite useful in this. So there we go, just adding a few more little fancy bits and bobs. So what am I going to do for number 18? Well, I can tell you now because I have started it, and it's in a different book. It's not a steampunk, and I'm just going to say the word pink. So hopefully you will tune in and you'll see what the pink thing is that I'm going to do on day 18. Well, it's pink at the moment. I think it's probably going to stay pink, and I've got some ephemera, so that's fairly pink as well. So I think it's safe to say day 18 is going to be very pretty and pink. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me rambling about this and that, and seeing me make my rather special journal pages. Anyway, I'm off now. Take care, guys. See you soon. Bye.